here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the Agendas, Meetings, and Minutes page of the city's website. Councillors attending virtually will be raising their hands in view of their webcam when moving a motion, requesting to speak, and when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later time. If a councillor attending virtually needs to leave the meeting at any time, they're requested to inform the clerk. And this evening, Councillor Lauder is attending virtually. We did have a closed session of council tonight that we adjourned at 6:49. Next up, we'll go to disclosure of any pecuniary interests. Oh, actually, first off, we do have some proclamations. Let's do those, and I'll come to the floor for that. Excuse me. So tonight we do have two proclamations I would like to read. First one is whereas the Victorian Order of Nurses for Canada is a charitable community-based healthcare organization that has addressed community health and social needs for 127 years. And whereas VON Oxford nurses, home support workers, community service coordinators, and many other staff and volunteers have been caring for the lives and well-being of residents of Woodstock since 1914. And VON's nursing, health promotion, and support services contribute to the health care system here in Ontario. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Jerry Accioni, Mayor of the City of Woodstock, and on behalf of Council, do hereby proclaim May 19th until the 25th, 2024, as VON Week in the City of Woodstock, dated the 16th day of May, 2024 at Woodstock, Ontario. I would like to encourage all residents of the City of Woodstock to support the VON and our community by sharing positive messages and financially supporting VON Oxford's charitable programs. And do we have anybody in attendance tonight from the VON? No, I don't see anyone. Okay. Thank you. So next one, bear with me. It's a long one, but important one. Whereas National Accessibility Week is a week for Canadians to promote inclusion and accessibility in our communities and workplaces, to celebrate our progress, and to be inspired to further break down accessibility barriers. And whereas an estimated 24% of Ontario's approximately 16 million residents have some form of disability, and as disability increases with age, there is a need for greater awareness of the needs, capabilities, and potential of persons with disabilities in Ontario. And whereas individuals with disabilities are impacted daily by barriers to information, facilities, employment, transportation, and communication supports, therefore negatively challenging an individual's ability to fully participate in community life. And whereas accessibility and inclusion are essential for ensuring that all community members have equality in opportunities and ability to fully participate in community life. And whereas the City of Woodstock Council and the citizens of Woodstock are committed to working to make Woodstock an inclusive community in which all persons can independently exercise their civil, political, social, and cultural rights on an equal basis, ensuring that everyone has the right to live in conditions of dignity, respect, and peace. Whereas, on behalf of the City of Woodstock, we extend our recognition to all persons with disability and offer our support to National Accessibility Week as an opportunity to celebrate accessibility as a national concern, while working locally to increase our efforts to achieve our goal of becoming an inclusive community by working to eliminate barriers to the City of Woodstock facilities, programs, and services. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jerry Accioni, on behalf of council, encourage everyone to support equality of access and opportunity for persons with disability, and do hereby proclaim May 27th to June 1st, 2024 as National Accessibility Week in the city of Woodstock, dated the 16th day of May, 2024, Woodstock, Ontario. And I do see Alan is here, and I'd like to present this to you. Thank you for you and your committee's work. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us while we did that. So next up, we do have, I'm at disclosure of any pecuniary interest. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest? Councillor Schattenberg.
Yes, I'll either declare a conflict of interest, Councillor Mark Schattenberg, on the clerk's department, is 14.F. So it's 14.F.1, the 2024 Student Civic Awards of Excellence, as my daughter is a graduating student at Notre Dame High School in Woodstock.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then I would also like to declare a potential pecuniary interest for delegations 8A and 8B, as well as planning report 9A, due to I own land in proximity to this property. So I will be excusing myself, and Acting Mayor Councillor Leatherborough will be taking the chair in my absence. Okay. Any disclosure of new business? Seeing none, matters arising from the minutes. And now the minutes. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, Councillor Key Leatherbarrow, seconded by Councillor Tate, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on May 2nd, 2024 be adopted.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with those? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Thank you. Next up, we have additions to the agenda. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, Councillor Key Leatherbarrow, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the following items be added to the agenda. Department reports item 14F3, zoning bylaw amendment appeal, OP 24-01-8 and ZN 8-24-01, 329 Bullard Street. Delegation item 8A, Abner Gingrich, SB 24-02-08 and ZN 8-24-03, applications for draft plan of subdivision and zone change, City of Woodstock, 685761 Highway 2 and 775019 Blandford Road. Delegation item 8B, Lee English, SB 24-02-08 and ZN 8-24-03, applications for draft plan of subdivision and zone change, City of Woodstock, 685761 Highway 2 and 775019 Blandford Road.
Thank you. Any questions or objections? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. So no presentations, but we will get into delegations, and I ask that Acting Mayor Leatherborough please come and take the chair.
So we'll now proceed to delegations. So beginning with 8A, Abner Gingrich, SB 24-02-08 and ZN 8-24-03, application for draft plan of subdivision and zone change, City of Woodstock, 685761 Highway 2 and 775019 Blandford Road. And if Abner is present, please come to the podium, and a gentle reminder that you have a 5-minute limit to speak before council tonight. Thanks.
Probably don't need it, but this is on, this is good. Yeah, hi, my name is Abner Gingrich. I live with my wife and my 3 kids at 705-890 Township Road 2. I don't know if there was a map of this anywhere, but it's basically the part of our property spacing being surrounded on 3 sides by this development. Yeah, that might be at the top circle, at the very top corner of the red boundary there. So yeah, we wanted to take these 5 minutes to just put some of our concerns on the record for this. So right now that current plan is showing our property being boxed in on 2 sides, but we understand the 3rd side is coming as well. And there's some obvious concerns about environment and all of that, but we're going to leave that to the experts tonight. I just wanted to quickly talk about some of our personal impacts. I'm not much for confrontation, so for some reason this is really nerve-wracking for me right now. The first concern we have is we do feel really blindsided by this. The way we found out about this is by having surveyors crawling all over our property last year and all around it. So by flagging some of them down, we finally got into contact with the surveyors, with the AGM surveying, and through that doing some research and finding some links on the website, we found out what was actually been in the works for probably long before we moved there about 3 years ago. Since then, we did reach out. I'm not going to name any names, but we were provided with some information. We were also assured that we'd get put on an emailing list. That's never happened. I think the first written communication we received was approximately several weeks ago. We received notice about the planning meeting on Monday. I didn't realize, I know you were all here, but that we'd be able to speak during that meeting. And by the time I quickly tried to get my thoughts together, I didn't make it up here. So it does feel like we're being intentionally left out of the loop. And we'd just like to put that concern on the record. The second concern, or more just question, I guess, is there anything we can do or work with you on just kind of protecting our, I guess we just finished kind of claiming back some of our land from the farmer. And again, confrontation is not our thing, so I'd really just like to see some sort of a plan on exactly what the setbacks will be. Is there something that could be done to, we really don't know what's coming. Will there be large industrial plants could go up there, so perhaps an extended setback with a berm of some sort. But again, it just really would like to see a clear plan for what could be done to kind of separate our home from all of these industrial plants that are coming in. The third concern is during construction. I'm sure this will take several years for construction. Is there any plans in place for what we're going to do to make sure that Township Road 2, the street at the very top in front of our property, or the country road there, doesn't become the main access for construction? We've already have surveyors cutting through our property, and we think this might just be the start of the next bunch of years of dealing with this as construction starts taking place. The fourth concern is the field right behind our property, and I see that map is one we send in, I think, but maybe not highlighted too well. But yeah, right below our property, there's a field that looks like it will be landlocked during the first phase of construction. And we're just curious if somebody's actually put some thought into that, what's actually going to be done with that land that is going to be landlocked until the future development takes place. Currently, the farmer accesses it through the forest. There's a bit of a laneway through the woods there. So yeah, we'd like some communication on what's going to happen with that. And the fifth one is really just the financial impact obviously is gonna reduce our property value by quite a lot. And somebody always has to lose out on these deals, so we understand that. But just wanted to put it on the record that there will be financial impacts for our family, and it's certainly not what we planned on for our long-term family home when we bought this place 3 years ago. So to summarize, we just wanted to get these things on the record today. I don't know if you're allowed to ask me questions or if you have questions, but we're not here to be difficult. We just really would like to have some assurance that going forward, how can we be part of this process? And maybe we just today received a report, I think, that maybe is part of this motion. Several days ago, after Monday's meeting, I reached out for that. We were again sent a couple documents with just a link to another website that says contact city engineering. It just really does feel like, yeah, I guess we're intentionally kept out of the loop here to try to really push this thing forward. And the thought had never crossed our mind that this is going to happen anytime even close to the near future, given how much space there still is between us and the rest of Woodstock proper, or whatever you would call it. So that's all I had.
Thank you very much for coming forward. I know it can be a little intimidating from the podium, but you did great. So I will now ask council if there's any questions for the delegation. If we have any questions for staff, we can then put that towards the actual planning application. Go ahead, Councillor Tate.
Yeah, through the chair, just a question. So when you bought the property, nobody told you that the city owned the adjacent farmland?
No. So perhaps that was us being naive. Perhaps we should be going back to the real estate lawyer and the real estate agent. I don't know. But again, not being one to try to go back and cause extra confrontation, we certainly never even thought of checking that being this far away from Woodstock.
And through the chair, so yeah, I would be very upset also. But I was just talking to the city engineer, and I think a number of your questions will be answered when we go to consideration of the application. And we can discuss your questions that you've got then. And they'll be able to answer quite a few of them.
And when will that happen?
During this meeting, when we do
Okay.
consideration of the application, yep. And if you have any after, you can contact the city engineer.
Yep.
Councillor Schattenberg, go ahead.
From the chair through to our delegation, I guess more of a point of clarification, just curious, how big is your property and what type of sort of farming agriculture might you do there as far as any kind of a hobby farmer? I just want to get an idea of the lay of the land versus being now adjoining to a commercial or industrial area.
Yeah, so it's I think 10 acres. It's mostly wooded and wetlands. I think we're only the very front where our buildings are. Could we actually build? The rest is all protected wetlands pretty much. But right out the back, and that's one of the places that concerns us the most, there's about a 2-acre clearing there. The farmers have been pushing back the tree line for quite some years, and we just finally managed to establish the actual property line there. They were onto our property by more than 40 feet. So that back area is kind of the kids' playground and the sandbox and everything back there. But that's kind of the lay of the land. Sorry, did I miss any of your?
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. And we'll be getting to this momentarily.
Thanks.
So no resolution is required as this refers to consideration of planning reports item 9A. So we'll move to the next delegation, 8B, Lee English. They are joining us virtually. So SB 24-02-08 and ZN 8-24-03 applications for draft plan of subdivision and zone change, City of Woodstock 685761 Highway 2 and 775019 Blanford Road. And it looks like They are virtually, so just a friendly reminder that there is a 5-minute limit for the delegation. So go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Acting Mayor, members of council. My name is Lee English. I'm a land use planning lawyer with Borden Ladner Gervais LLP. Borden Ladner Gervais is legal counsel to 272-9902 Ontario Inc., who's the owner of lands to the southwest block of this application, known as the Gill lands. Mr. Gill is our client. These lands are approximately 36 hectares or about 89 acres in size, and immediately adjacent to the land subject to this Planning Act applications. And they are not only directly impacted, but a necessary part of these applications. So first off, I'd like to express my gratitude to city staff for accommodating our requests, our delegation requests, and working so hard over the last 3 days to make sure we were on the agenda and our IT was in good shape. And thanks to Mr. Gilbert for his efforts to respond to our letter today, or I guess he responded yesterday. We received the response today. We might not agree with everything in the letter, in his response, but the effort is appreciated. So I'm here today to ask you to defer this matter. Based on our letter and county staff's response, Mr. Gilbert, it appears we have a failure to communicate. And this is a breakdown in communication that's unfortunate, given the years of collaboration on this development of this area between our client and the city. And council today has an opportunity to get us back on track, get us on a course towards a mutually beneficial outcome, and a deferral will allow us to do just that. And it will not prejudice the city's or our clients' ambitions to see this area redevelop as an employment-focused, job-creating area in the city. As the saying goes, haste makes waste. And the city's applications have moved forward in the last 2 weeks more quickly than any I've ever seen. And it's all like there's reference to the years-long consultation. The value of that is all true, but may be lost if we rush this critical part of the approval process. This is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. And now more than ever, collaboration and coordination is required, especially with our client and Mr. Gingrich in this case as well. I observed another first when I watched the recording of the public meeting. City staff themselves have concerns with the holding provisions in the zoning bylaw and certain draft plan conditions related to servicing. Deferring this item will allow time for city staff to sort through those issues with the county planning staff, as well as our client and Mr. Gingrich, and won't prejudice the proposal to advance this application in a quick and expeditious way. I'll now turn to two concerns we have regarding the zoning bylaw amendment itself. Firstly, it's not been presented to council as far as I'm aware. It's not in the staff report, yet council is being asked to approve it in principle. And it's odd to me that you would be asked to approve something that you have not yet reviewed, or at least not been made publicly available. So that's notwithstanding our concerns about notice and input that we've recorded in our letter. But secondly, the Planning Act doesn't allow for approval in principle. There's confusion around what is being proposed here. There's no such thing as conditional zoning. The city can't approve today a zoning bylaw that will be subject to whether or not the county approves the draft plan. The city has to approve, refuse, or in this case, we ask, defer the consideration of the zoning bylaw. Deferring this item again gives us additional time to finalize the zoning bylaw so that's in a final form, and City Council can consider the actual zoning bylaw that is being asked to approve. Again, a deferral of this item doesn't mean the process will come to a halt. We provide a recommended approach that would allow this process to continue while providing a meaningful opportunity for input from affected stakeholders. So, the ask. Specifically, we're here today to ask the city to do two things. Firstly, receive the zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan applications for information, and direct city staff to provide the applications together with all the information and materials that were prepared in support of them to the county and any persons who request a copy of the application materials for review and comment. So it certainly includes our client and perhaps Mr. Gingrich as well. We'd also like city to direct staff to work with our client to advance the applications for its own lands. We have submitted applications for these lands to redevelop in the same manner, employment uses, and we want to make sure we're coordinated with the city. We'd like to get this deferred for preferably 2 months. I know that council sits less frequently over the summer, so we're proposing August 15th as an appropriate time to allow for our applications to be reviewed and catch up, and then for the public to be actively involved. So there's our clients' applications are before city council, the city. There's a couple of issues associated with MTO comments, which no longer apply because our application doesn't propose access within the MTO control area. The preliminary application, pre-consultation did, but no longer does. And there's also the issue of the landlocked block, which is also resolved. So quickly, there's great benefit and limited downside to deferring this matter and considering these applications together. We're not asking the city to do the work for us, but rather that the city work with us to realize the city and our own clients' vision for this area. So subject to any questions you may have, those are my submissions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lee English. Are there any questions for the delegation? Seeing none, thank you again.
Thank
So
you.
no resolution is required as, did I hear Connie? No. Excuse me, we have one virtual, so I didn't know if I was missing Counselor Lauder, but I don't think so. Okay, so no resolution is required as this refers to consideration of planning reports, item 9A. So we will now move into consideration of planning reports. So 9A, SB 24-02-08 and ZN 8-24-03, applications for draft plan of subdivision and zone change, City of Woodstock, 685761 Highway 2 and 775019 Blanford Road. And the planner of Oxford County, Mr. Gilbert, will speak to this. Thank you.
Thank you. As noted, these applications are for a draft plan of subdivision for industrial purposes. In this case, the city of Woodstock is the applicant. The subdivision consists of 9 blocks for industrial purposes, 3 natural heritage blocks, a block for stormwater management, a block for a future sanitary pumping station, with a number of blocks for road widenings and 1-foot reserves served by 5 new local streets. The northwest portion of the property is designated business park through the Southeast Woodstock Secondary Plan, which was adopted in 2022. That area is proposed to be zoned to a special prestige industrial holding zone. The purpose of the holding zone is to ensure that there's appropriate noise studies done for the industrial development that would look at the compatibility to existing sensitive uses in the area. It's not easy to do these noise studies ahead of time because we don't know what the form of the industrial development will look like. We don't know where the buildings are. We don't know what the use is. So in this case, we're proposing that would be that work would be done concurrently with the site plan process, or when the use of the land is known. That special M1 zone would also have some relief for lot depth for the blocks that are close to the Highway 401 corridor, as there is a required 14 meters setback from the corridor. So that reduced lot depth will allow some flexibility for the siting of some buildings. The balance of the site, most of it just north of Highway 2, would be designated, is designated traditional industrial. Again, that was done through both the East Woodstock Secondary Plan in 2008 and the Southeast Secondary Plan done in 2022. Access would be from a proposed roundabout that would be opposite Oxford Road 55 near the hamlet of or village of Eastwood, with additional accesses to the east on Highway 2 and to the east on Blanford Road. This industrial zone would be an M3 special zone, which will allow for some heavier industrial uses. Again, with the holding provision, that would require the noise studies to be done prior to the development of the lands, as there are some existing sensitive land uses along the north side of Highway 2. As noted, we have not received comments from the MTO through the circulation of this draft plan. However, we're satisfied that it's appropriate to proceed, as the city has been worked closely with MTO through the preparation of the secondary plan and the EA that identified the preferred options for sanitary servicing, water servicing, and transportation impacts. As part of this subdivision plan, the city also did further work to refine the original environmental studies and servicing studies done in the secondary plan. There will be a 30-meter buffer around the natural heritage features. Those features won't be fragmented, they won't be impacted, they'll be preserved by the 30-meter buffer, and they'll be held in the city's ownership. So they'll forever be owned by the city. Um, as well, the plan does implement all the recommendations of the other technical studies, and the archaeological work has largely been completed for the site. Uh, Planning staff recommends support of the application, subject to noted conditions. There is some discussion about two conditions related to confirmation of capacity, and I believe the city's economic development department has put forward proposed conditions for that. With that, staff recommend support of the applications.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Schadenberg, go ahead.
From the chair through to Mr. Gilbert. I guess the question being is, I don't think you mentioned it unless I missed it in your conversation there, but the idea of being a traffic circle and the future of a traffic circle being on Highway 2 in the village of Eastwood.
Yes, the primary access to the site would be a proposed roundabout on Highway 2 opposite Oxford Road 55 by Eastwood. And that would be constructed as part of the subdivision development.
Councillor Wismer Van Meer, go ahead.
Through the chair to Mr. Gilbert, maybe a question that is a bit complicated to answer in this context, but the delegation mentioned about the fact about it's the Planning Act and approving something in principle. Can you explain that to clarify how we are able to do this despite what was mentioned by the delegation?
Sure, through the chair. So in Oxford County, the delegation's right is strictly there is no approval in principle in the Planning Act. However, what we've used is our processing timelines here are quite quick, quite rapid. And at times there isn't enough time to prepare the bylaw schedules, or if there's a question of council direction and implementing that, what we'll do is we'll call it an approval in principle, but the bylaw would come back at a future council date and be on the agenda and would be passed at that point. We typically also do this where there's a approval also required at the county. So if it's a subdivision approval or official plan amendment, we'll often wait for the official plan amendment to be passed or not passed, and then we'll bring back the bylaw to a future city council agenda, and then it gets passed at that point.
Any further questions from council? I would just have, oh, go ahead.
So I just want to make, with respect to Mr. Gingrich's points, I did look when he was speaking at the mailing list that was prepared, and I can only speak to the subdivision applications. I can't speak to the secondary plans because I wasn't directly involved in that. But notice was provided to everyone within 120 meters of the property, and his wife's name was on the mailing list. So that would have been issued by mail on February 26th of this year, and then the notice of public meeting would have been issued on April 29th. So I'm not sure why it wasn't received, but it was on the list that would have got automatic notice. And with respect to the landlocked block, that block is proposed to remain future development. So the use would be the same as it is today until at some point when the budding land to the east is developed, then there'd be the secondary plan provides a road access through that parcel to access the landlocked piece. But for the time being, it's not part of these subdivision applications.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Gilbert. Seeing no other questions from council. Terrific. So I'll now ask for a resolution. Councillor Tate.
I'll make the motion that Woodstock City Council approve in principle the zoning change application submitted by the city of Woodstock for lands described as part of lots 7, 8, and 9, concession 1 to rezone the land from agriculture and environmental protection zone 1 and 2 to special prestige industrial holding zone, special general industrial holding zone, future development zone, an environmental protection zone, and to facilitate a proposed draft plan of subdivision for industrial purposes, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter, and further that city council advised county council that the city supports the application for draft plan of subdivision file number SB 24028 submitted by the city of Woodstock for lands described as part of lot 7, 8, and 9, concession 1, subject to an amendment to conditions 18 and 26 as follow. 18, prior to the final approval of the subdivision plan, the owner shall receive confirmation from Oxford County Public Works that there is sufficient capacity in the city of Woodstock water and sanitary sewer systems to service the plan of subdivision. All property sold in this subdivision will be subject to site plan approval through the city's amendment of purchase and sale. To sell land in the subdivision, the city of Woodstock will require each purchaser to request Oxford County confirm sufficient water and wastewater capacity for the proposed development as part of the normal due diligence process contained in the city's agreement of purchase and sale. Based on these flows, Oxford County shall confirm that they can be accommodated by the Woodstock water and sanitary sewer system and the sanitary pumping station serving the lands.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Counselor Schadenberg? Further discussion? Counselor Tate?
Through the chair, I don't know if the engineer wants to comment or who wants to comment, but just for the public's benefit, this will be quite a while before it's developed. If they want to give some indication to the public how long it normally takes.
Your worship, through the counselor. Yeah, this has been a few years in the making already. As Eric kind of alluded to, it kind of started on the East Woodstock secondary plan in 2008 or whatever it was. And then it's been going on with this secondary study specifically for these lands started in 2020. We have started detailed design, but we still have easements to get. We need permits to get from MTO. We need easements from Toyota. We need easements from the Gills. There's still some archaeological work that still needs to be finished. Fair amount of design work that still needs to be finished. Long story short, I guess we will probably start work in maybe a year or two, but it will probably take a good 5 years before you'll see anything actually popping up on that land.
Thank you, Mr. DeHaan. Counselor Lauder, did you have a question? No.
No, I didn't have a question. I would have seconded the motion, but that's okay.
Thank you, Counselor Lauder.
No question.
Counselor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Appreciate the time to speak. Given what the city engineer has just said, that this is 4 to 5 years out, I think that that's one of the reasons why these two clauses around water and wastewater are a little more unique to this planning application than what we might commonly see. Given that it is 4 to 5 years out, we have no idea what our water and wastewater capacity, how it might be utilized in between now and then. But just as a note of encouragement, in the 2024 Oxford County Business Plan and Budget, there was a full-time equivalent position created for a development review engineer, and that is a position that will be filled this year. Specifically that position will have the opportunities to support staffing to ensure timely and high quality development review services are upheld, considering forecasted increases in volumes and the technical complexity of development. So that position was created as a result of consultation with the economic development departments around the county, recognizing that communication between the city and the county could use additional support, specifically around commercial and industrial development. So I feel better about these clauses, knowing that position will be in place well ahead of water capacity issues in the next 4 to 5 years.
Thank you, Counselor Martin. Any further discussion? Counselor Wismer Van Meer?
It's an on and off game with these mics. Through the chair, I'm not sure if it would go to, I'm going to say maybe Mr. DeHaan. Our delegation, Mr. Gingrich, had a few questions that I think he was hoping we could maybe address. And I'm hoping that I'm catching what was said, but one of them was, potentially buffer areas between his place and this development, whether it's a berm, just kind of some of the construction around there, for Mr. Gingrich, and just kind of the process. What is the best, steps for him to take to have his concerns, considered during this development, and what would we recommend for him to do going forward?
Your worship, through the councillor, as I understand Mr. Gingrich's concerns, they are one, a buffer zone. His lot is a recognized wood lot, so there will be a 30-meter or basically about a 100-foot buffer from his property line onto ours that we cannot touch. He also mentioned noise or noise wall. As Eric had mentioned, we will require that when a property wants to develop that property, depending and specific to the use of that property, to make sure that it doesn't adversely affect him. Three, the property to the south, as Eric had mentioned also, that property, as Eric mentioned, will not develop until the property east of that develops, because that's what, according to the East Woodstock plan that was done in 2008, that's how that property will get access to Blandford Road. In terms of if Mr. Gingrich has any other questions or whatever, I'd advise him to either give me a call or send me an email.
Councillor Tate, were you second? And then Councillor Schadenberg?
Just through the chair, I just had a question for the city engineer. I don't want the public to think that we're out of water or there's an issue. We've done a large number of studies already. This kind of, the director of public works kind of threw this out there. I'm not sure why, but if I can just have the city engineer comment on all the number of reports that have already been done, there should not be any issue. And I know the planner tried to help with this too.
Your worship, through the councillor. Yeah, staff was a little surprised to see those comments from the county. We've never had comments like that before from the county. We've been working on this application, the secondary plan, for 4 years now. The county has been part of that process. They are a stakeholder, obviously. They've never mentioned any capacity issues. So, you know, and also they last year they came out with a master wastewater and wastewater plan that shows that City of Woodstock had no capacity issues. So, as I mentioned, we were a little taken aback to see those conditions were to be put on our development. Yes, we recognize that we're not going to be turning the taps on tomorrow. However, it's my understanding that usually it's first come, first serve. So if we get a draft plan approval approved, therefore our development should have that reserve capacity in the system. If not, if it is that close, then I suspect that the county should be considering expansion of their existing treatment facilities.
Thank you. Councillor Schadenberg, you had a question?
Yes, and my question goes back, I guess, to our delegation, Mr. Gingrich. Just to maybe see confirmation that no construction vehicles would ever be on his township road. I mean, obviously he lives on a gravel road now that is in essence a dead end based on the fact that the end of the road is the 401, so it is a dead end road. So he's very few vehicles to be currently using this. Would there be any assurances he could get whatsoever that construction vehicles wouldn't access his township road at any point in time to get to the property?
Your worship, through the councillor, we can certainly put something like that in the contract. Heavy construction jobs like this usually have a dedicated entrance because they have mud mats and everything so that the mud is not tracked onto. So and also last year, I don't know if council will remember, as one of the amendments to the traffic bylaw, we created load restrictions on some of the roads in Woodstock, and Township Road 2 was one of them. So that road basically will have load restrictions on it for half the year also. So I don't see that being an issue, but if anybody's worried about it, we could put that in the contract also, that no access be off Township Road 2.
Thank you. And my question was just around communication. Mr. Gilbert, do you know if the responsibility falls to the planning, or obviously Mr. DeHaan has said for the delegate to reach out and stay connected as well on the engineering side, but having participated at Monday's meeting and then tonight, will there be continuous communication to the delegation, Mr. Gingrich from the planning department? Or just how we can strengthen communication is what I was hearing when he stepped forward.
Now that he's provided his contact information, we can add him to the mailing list. So he'll get a notice of the approval of the subdivision, approval of the zoning, and the future reports that go for the county council meeting on June 12th, when this will be considered, the subdivision plan.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Does anyone need the resolution reread? Kidding? Okay, I will now call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Mr. Mayor, you are welcome back to the chair.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Leatherborough. Appreciate that. So next on, we will move along to 9B, B 23-65-8, application for consent. Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you. This was a severance and minor variant, severance application that was submitted to create a new, or to retain a lot with a single detached dwelling and create a lot for a 4-unit residential building. The applicant recently submitted a zone change application to allow for the 4 units and provide some relief from the R3 zone. The property is designated medium density. Staff recommend the application be deferred to see if we can get a proposal that's more reflective of the existing official plan designation. So at this time, recommend that the application be deferred.
I'll ask council if you have any questions for the planner on that. Then I'll look for a motion. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
I move that Woodstock City Council defer application file B 23-65-8 submitted by 634524 Ontario Inc. for lands described as Lot 4 and Part Lot 5, Block M, Plan 255, City of Woodstock, to allow staff to consider the severance application in conjunction with the recently submitted zone change application.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Leatherborough. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. So it brings us to 9C, ZN 8-24-05. Mr. Gilbert.
This is a zone change application to allow for abattoir or a chicken processing facility or plant within the city's industrial park on Aaliyah Street. An abattoir is not permitted in any zone in the city zoning bylaw. The reason being it's generally a high water wastewater user. So in this case, we've consulted with Oxford County Public Works, who indicated that existing services in the area are able to accommodate the proposed use. And as such, we recommend approval of the application, as this is a suitable location for an industrial use as proposed.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion. Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Schattenberg.
Thank you that Woodstock City Council approved the application for lands described as Plan 41M-380, Lot C in the City of Woodstock to rezone the subject property from Special General Industrial M3-34 to Special General Industrial Zone M3-45 to facilitate the development of an abattoir, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Seconder's okay with that? Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Schattenberg?
Yes, I know the name Allier Street's come up in several meetings lately. I just wanted to make sure people knew that Allier Street was in the Patulo Ridge subdivision for commercial and industrial property south of the 401.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or questions of staff, of course? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. And next up, we have 9D, ZN 8-24-07, application for zone change. Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you. This is a zone change application for the former Capitol Theater site here in downtown Woodstock to rezone it from a C5 zone to a special C5 zone to allow for an 8-story apartment building with 36 units with parking on the first and second floor and no commercial component. Through the review of the application, we noted that an official plan amendment was required, primarily to address the lack of commercial space on Dundas. This is known as a pedestrian-oriented area, and the official plan policies, which stem from the central area design study, recommend or require a commercial component. So the official plan amendment has been submitted now, so we're recommending the application be deferred so that we can bring these back likely to the July public meeting.
Okay, thank you. Questions of the planner? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to the planner. Would this therefore delay any kind of progress and any kind of an RFP to be submitted by the county to look for somebody to assist in the project at that location?
There'll likely be a slight delay for a couple of months until July, until we bring it back, but the application's been submitted, so we're able to circulate that later this week.
Any other questions of the planner at this stage? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Looking for a motion on the floor. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council defer the application for lands described as part lot 1, W/S, I'm not sure what that's supposed to stand for, Light Street, Plan 10 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the subject property from Central Commercial Zone C5 to Special Central Commercial Zone C5 SP to facilitate development of an 8-story, 36-unit residential apartment dwelling house on the subject lands to allow the applicant to apply for the required official plan amendment, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tate. Any other discussions or questions of staff? Councillor Schadenberg.
This will just be a comment, Mayor. I just know that a lot of people in the city of Woodstock would be talking often about the heights of buildings in certain neighborhoods, whether that be just off Dundas, like say Wellington and Maine, which is one that we had a discussion a year or so ago. Just want people to take a look at the agenda and take a look at the number of pictures from different sight lines and different angles to see that's the possibility of something that could happen in the city of Woodstock with the 36 units, whether they be parking on the main floor or not. I'm going to say it's not the imposing height of it, but the height of it versus what we currently see on Dundas Street in the city of Woodstock. Because as somebody is for example, follow social media a lot, I don't want to see an uproar 6 months from now where people are saying, what are they building there? When it's been talked about lots.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I have a question for you, Mr. Gillard. I know we've been kind of waiting as a council to get a report on heights in the downtown. I'm wondering if they may come together since this is being deferred. Is there a possibility that planning staff will have that report forward around the same time as this?
To the question, I think this application will likely come before that report. I don't foresee we'll be able to get the report on overall options for density in the downtown before this is ready to come back. And like I say, hopefully in July.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions of the planner? All right, thank you. Any further questions at all? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Next up, 9E, B 24-09-8 and A 24-04-8, application for consent and minor variance. Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you. This is a severance and minor variance application at the corner of Queen Street and Douglas Street in the city. The application proposes to create a vacant lot and retain a lot with the converted dwelling. A duplex with the ARU is proposed on the lot to be severed. Some of the variances that are requested in staff's opinion are significant. So we'd like the application be deferred to allow us to work with the applicant to maybe look at a different dwelling type so that the lands are not overdeveloped.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Seeing none, looking for a motion? Counselor Schadenberg?
Yeah, motion that Woodstock City Council defer application files B 24-09-8 and A 24-04-08 submitted by Zachary Yankovic for lands described as Lot 8 on the south side of Queen Street, Block H, Plan 52, City of Woodstock, to allow for the applicant to consider amending the proposal to address the building department's comments.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder on the motion? Counselor Leatherborough? Any further discussion or questions of staff? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. So that brings us to consideration of correspondence, 10A. And Counselor Wismer Van Meer has requested the following correspondence. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council support the resolution from the City of Sault Ste. Marie to support Bill C-332 and enact the necessary amendments to the Criminal Code of Canada to include coercive control of an intimate partner. And further, that this resolution be circulated to the City of Sault Ste. Marie, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honorable Dominic LeBlanc, Minister of Public Safety, the Honorable Patty Hajdu, Minister of Indigenous Services, the Honorable Mark Holland, Minister of Health, the Honorable Marcy Ayan, Minister of Women and Gender Equality and Youth, the Honorable Janice Sudds, Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, the Honorable Arif Virani, Minister of Justice, and the Honorable Arpan Khanna, Oxford MP.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder on that? Counselor Leatherborough? Discussion, Counselor Wismer Van Meer?
I won't go into the full motion that was sent to through Sault Ste. Marie. This was forwarded by Councillor Caputo, and it's touching on the 86 recommendations to prevent future deaths and delivered those recommendations to the province of Ontario. This was after the jury heard the Carol Culleton, Anastasia Kuzik, and Natalie Warmerdam inquest. As many people know, in Sault Ste. Marie, there was a tragic situation that took place last year where there was a death, intimate partner violence related death sorry, my computer wants to restart. There we go. As well as 3 young children. And this is what pushed Councillor Caputo to bring this forward. There is a group in Sault Ste. Marie that are called Angie's Angels, and Angie's Angels honor the memory of Angie Sweeney, who is the individual that was brutally murdered by her ex-partner. We have some local stats as well from Dasso and Ingama Homes showing that this isn't something that's getting better in time, it's getting worse. There are far more numbers of women and identifying women that are seeking, whether it's shelter, women's shelter, and in some cases losing their lives to what's happening with intimate partner violence. So I think that this one step of adding this to the criminal code is important. And if people, a quick search of what a coercive control means, it's very self-explanatory, but it's domestic abuse in which a perpetrator subjects a spouse, partner, or close relative to a sustained pattern of controlling, threatening, or humiliating behavior. So I think adding something like that to our criminal code shouldn't take a lot of time and really shouldn't take a lot of thought. So this is why I want to bring this forward, support Councillor Caputo as well as MP Laurel Collins, who's the one that originally brought this bill forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Tate?
Just through the chair, I think we need to give a lot of credit to Diane Harris here in Woodstock. She runs both DASO and Ingamo, and for the public's benefit, a lot of their funding's been cut from the province. And this is when they need it the most. So if you have any extra place you're looking for donations, it's a perfect location to send it. Thank you.
Yes, couldn't agree more. Anyone else? Oh, thank you. Councillor Lauder.
I want to thank Councillor Withmer Van Meer for bringing this forward. Yes, DASO is such an important part of our city and for women who need that care and their children. And they are celebrating their 50th anniversary in June, and they need all the support that we can give them. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Councillor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It's not necessarily, feel good correspondence, but it is feel good to see my council mate work very hard to bring this forward and to work with other municipalities such as Sault Ste. Marie, and to tap into our own resources that are terribly underfunded. But I do want to just give Councillor Wismer Van Meer credit for being as passionate and dedicated as she is, and linking this all together for an important cause. I think it's really great, and you've done a wonderful job.
Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Sorry, through the chair, just one more. I do want to mention these numbers because members of DASO and Ingamo Homes did send me some local stats and information, and I think this is one thing that's important to share. So between April of 2023 and March of 2024, 51 women and 40 children were assessed at the residential program at DASO, but under that number is 163 that were referred out due to their capacity limitations. So we know DASO's not a large brick and mortar place. They don't have a lot of space, but when you look at that number of 51 women and 40 children being in there in that year, plus 163 being referred out because of limitations, there's clearly a pattern that's happening here that's not healthy and not safe. There's many other numbers they shared with me, but thanks to Councillor Tate and also Councillor Lauder for mentioning that it's their 50th anniversary. There's going to be a lot of information that they will be releasing over the next few weeks. So I really encourage folks to read that information and pay attention, because these are your neighbors that are being affected.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, yeah, June 5th is the scheduled date for the 50th anniversary. So with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Wismer Van Meer, bringing that forward. 10B, Councillor Schattenberg has requested following correspondence. Councillor Schattenberg.
Yes, the Woodstock City Council support the resolution from the municipality of Huron Shores, urging the Ontario government to promptly resume the assessment cycle to ensure that the stability and predictability of property taxes, and for the resolution be circulated to the municipality of Huron Shores, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Ernie Hardeman, Oxford MPP, and the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lauder? Discussion? Councillor Schattenberg.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and you can confirm this yourself, Mayor Accioni, that the County of Oxford recently passed a very similar amendment. I'm not sure if it's the one from Huron Shores or not, but I was in real estate for 20 years, and you start talking about the assessed value of a house, and you're trying to figure out property taxes, and you say, well, the average house in the city of Woodstock, the multiplier of $252,000 or whatever it is. And we just know that it becomes impossible for someone, literally impossible for someone, no matter what a mill rate is or the calculator that goes along with it, or what the education tax portion might be in the county tax portion and the municipal, to try to even remotely figure out how accurate their assessment is on their house and why they're paying $5,000, $7,000 or $9,000 in taxes. And so there's the appraised value, the market value, assessment value. It's really an antiquated multiplier system that they really have to get back on track. And they can only use COVID as a reason for so long to sort of say that here's why our numbers aren't very accurate, especially when you're considering say a 2-year-old house that has really probably never been properly assessed versus the 20-year-old house that they say might be your average house at $252,000 value.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comments or questions of staff? Councillor Leatherborough.
Through your worship, this would be to Diane. I don't want to throw you off, but last minute question, or to the deputy CAO. And thank you, Councillor Schadenberg, for bringing this correspondence forth. What stood out to me was, quote, "And whereas the government has delayed an assessment update again in 2024, resulting in Ontario's municipalities continuing to calculate property taxes using 2016 property values." So for the public's benefit and my benefit in layman's terms, why should we have an updated property assessment?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. The fact that it's at 2016, yes, they are low compared to a market value or a real estate price, but the theory with MPAC is that they will be consistent. So regardless of what time frame you're using, they have algorithms, they've got software, they've got programs that they run everything through, and the theory is that all the properties are valued at the same basis as of January 1st, 2016. It becomes difficult when you look at the value of the assessments compared to the properties, and that's what Councillor Schadenberg's referring to. So it is important that we get them up to date, but it's important that it be done well and done properly and not rushed into. So if they're not ready to put them out, I don't think we want them to do it in haste. I know they've had a number of years to get it going, but there's been difficulty with the valuation date simply because of what's been going on in the market. They have to pick a reasonable date, and as we all know, the housing market went through the roof not too long ago. So that, I think, is some of the reasons for the delays. I would also comment, there is a sentence in here about MPAC, and I'm not sure that it's fair to paint everybody with that same brush that they're putting in there, that they all need training. We work with some really good MPAC people, and they are very helpful for us. But I do agree that it's very difficult to compare at this point in time because the values are so far behind what is reality.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. It brings us to, there's no staff presentations that I'm aware of, no mayor's report, no councillor reports, department reports. We do have nothing from administrative services, but we do have engineering tonight at 14B1, Southgate Center addition and renovation. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council award the tender to the Southgate Center addition and renovation to Elgin Contracting and Restoration Limited in the amount of $7,178,890, inclusive of HST.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder on the motion? Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion. Councillor Tate.
Through the chair, I'm happy to see this come in lower. I'd like to thank Mr. David Hilderly, who's here today, for driving the fundraising, and the board, who's done a lot of work, and the staff. Without all of you, this wouldn't have not been possible. And a special thank you to Dr. Leonard Reeves. Thankfully, we have people like that in our community that make a huge difference and was a great part of our fundraising.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, just, they always say Google is your friend, right? And I looked up Elgin Contracting and Restoration. They've been around since 1996. Some of the more significant projects they've worked on lately, I've been to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame Museum in St. Mary's a number of times. They're the ones that did the addition on that building. Ontario Police College in Aylmer, they did a renovation project. Also, South Huron Recreation Center in Exeter. So I'm not going to list the whole list of places that they've worked on, but it looks like they're a very good contractor coming in from St. Thomas to do this work.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. Question for Diane. The report says that construction can begin within the next 60 days, and then it looks like it'll take about 56 weeks is the anticipated timeframe. So that takes us into July of next year. I just want to clarify that we don't issue debt until the project is complete. So it would be in around that timeframe of July of next year that we would be looking to issue that debt.
Your worship, through to the council's question, yes, as long as our cash flow is sufficient to fund the project on an ongoing basis, we won't get construction financing and it won't be sold until next year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Schattenberg.
I guess a question for anybody who might want to answer it, about the fact that there's a contingency built in for $700,000. And if you don't actually read the reports online, you'll be able to get an understanding as to how these numbers are broken down. And of course, 1.2 million from Southgate Center. But if somebody could explain the contingency part of the sort of the $700,000 of the 7.676 overall budget for construction.
Your worship, through the counselor, because no contingency was actually included in the tender contract itself, we're adding that in the approved amount now. Basically, a contingency is to cover any unforeseen activities that might need to be paid for during construction.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Lauder. Councillor Lauder, you're on mute.
I'm not used to this. I want to thank everyone who has worked so diligently in bringing this to fruition. I know it has been a long time in the making, and I know it'll be welcomed in our community. It's going to be a lovely addition to the building, and I know Chris Cunningham has had a lot of sleepless nights on if this was ever going to happen. So we all look forward to seeing this build start. So as soon as the shovels are in the ground, I'm sure that there will be a lot of excited people. So thank you, and thanks for everyone who's worked so hard on this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is unanimous. And now that's passed. I'd just like to also thank all of Southgate staff and volunteers. That organization just in general is fantastic. Now that I'm 50, my wife and I can both become members, and we're excited to be a lot more active there here in the community. So thanks, everybody. Congratulations. Now the city is going to benefit from that. Next up, 14B.2, Beale Street reconstruction. Looking for a motion, Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council award the tender of the reconstruction of Beale Street to ViewCon Construction Limited in the amount of $888,191.58, inclusive of HST, and further that council approve the reallocation of $39,000 from the surplus funding on the Brant Street reconstruction bracket 11313 bracket to fund the shortfall on the Beale Street reconstruction bracket 11312 bracket.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. None opposed. Next up, 14B.3, Walter Street reconstruction. Looking for a motion? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council award the tender for the reconstruction of Walter Street to EuroX Construction 2008422 Ontario Limited in the amount of $1,331,905.52 inclusive of HST.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Leatherborough. Discussion? Councillor Schattenberg.
Just curious, your worship, if there's any kind of a timetable for a project like this, for Euro X construction, only because Walter Street goes into, Southside Park, and I just wanted to know with, Cowapalooza and July 1st and other events happening, if provision will be made to sort of keep those streets open at that point in time.
Your worship, through the counselor, construction is anticipated to start. We couldn't lock down an exact start date yet, but it's either going to start in June or July of this year. So it may affect getting into the park in July.
Thank you. Do we have a time frame on how long that work is going to be for, Mr. Don?
Your worship, 6 to 8 weeks is the anticipated duration.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next up, we have 14B.4, street naming. Councillor Tate.
I'll make the motion that Woodstock City Council name the street in Athlon subdivision Sierra Place.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Tate.
Yes, just want to comment that Cliff Salewski, who started Sierra Construction, has been a huge supporter of just about every charity you can imagine in Woodstock. He's very quiet about it. He doesn't go around and broadcast it, but he has been very generous to this community, and I have full support of naming this Sierra Place.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comments or questions? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is now going to be called Sierra Place. Nothing from Cultural Services, Parks and Rec, but we do have Economic Development tonight. 14E.1 License Agreement with Fanshawe College. Looking for a motion? Councillor Leatherborough, seconded by Councillor Martin.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the license agreement with Fanshawe College.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Excited to have Fanshawe still here in the community, of course, and thank them very much. We have I remember the report, 150 students approximately using that space, so significant. Now the Clerk's Department, 14F.1, 2024 Student Civic Awards of Excellence. Looking for a motion, Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council confirms the selection of Ali Brown, Woodstock Collegiate Institute, Ethan Fodor, College Avenue Secondary School, Julian Jean, St. Mary's High School, Megan Schadenberg, Ecole Secondaire Catholique Notre Dame, and Colin White, Huron Park Secondary School as the winners of the 2024 Student Civic Awards of Excellence.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder on the motion? Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
More or less just a comment. I'm sure it's never easy to select just one student from these schools. I'm sure that the process is laborsome and it's not an easy task by any means, but congratulations to these folks. And I'm really proud that we as a council can award this to students. I think that it's nice to get this recognition, and these students obviously do very hard work within their school and their communities. Some of them I do know and have seen some of the work they do. So congratulations to them and to all of the students who I know were probably very well deserving. If the funds were there, I'm sure we'd love to give out more.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comment or questions? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Excellent. Congratulations and thank you to those students. I'm excited to see their futures. Next up, 14 14.F.2 zoning bylaw amendment appeal. Looking for a motion? Counselor Tate, second by Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Make the motion that Woodstock City Council supports the decision to refuse to amend the zoning bylaw with respect to application ZN 8-2306, 360 and 366 Mill Street, and further that the city clerk be instructed to so advise the local planning appeal tribunal.
Thank you. You're okay with that, Counselor Wismer Van Meer? Discussion or questions? Counselor Martin?
Yeah, just as discussion, I won't be supporting the motion. I think that I was in support of approving the application originally. It did check off all the boxes according to the planning application. I'm sad to see that this will probably head to appeal. It's a very expensive and laborsome, time-consuming process. So I won't be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Tate?
Just a comment, and I'm well aware we may not be able to find a planner, so it may be short and sweet, but I am really concerned with the traffic there, especially with the ambulance station right there. It's on the hill. You're adding 19 units. As I said before, at some point, somebody's got to set the standard to go back to the province and say, stop putting this all down on these municipalities like ours, and I do not agree with it, and I do not like this intensification in some areas, so I am supporting this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next up, we have 14F.3 zoning bylaw amendment appeal. OP 24-01-8 and ZN 8-24-01. Counselor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council supports the decision to refuse to amend the zoning bylaw with respect to application zone change OP 24-01-8 and ZN 8-24-01, and further that the city clerk be instructed to so advise the local planning appeal tribunal.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? Counselor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. I just wanted to say I'm disappointed that this is the direction that the applicant is taking this, given that within days of this being turned down, they did come back with some suggestions of reducing the intensification. So I'm disappointed that this is the direction. I would have preferred that we could actually work out something that was mutually beneficial. Yeah, so unfortunately, this is the direction we have.
Thank you. Anyone else? And call the vote. All those in favor? That's none opposed. That is carried. So then nothing from the CAO's office, human resources or fire services, but we do have public works tonight. 14J.1 sole source purchase, new boom flail mower attachment. Looking for a motion on the floor. Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council waive the tendering requirements of the procurement of goods and services policy and authorize the purchase of a boom flail mower attachment in the amount of $49,027.95 from Work Equipment.
Thank you. Seconded by Counselor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? Counselor Schattenberg.
Yeah, as I said earlier, Google is your best friend, and I was looking for exactly what this implement was. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get an explanation as to what the implement is as far as helping in mowing lawn.
Through you, your worship, to the councilor's question. So it's a boom flail mower. So it's a mower on the end of a big boom. So it allows you to reach out into difficult to cut areas, hills, slopes, ditches. that kind of a nature of a cut. And it does so with the unit staying on a flat surface, so it keeps the operator very safe, and it allows you to do that work. And it can also be used in other areas that'll increase the utilization of that unit, so that the parks area can get more of their cuts done.
And I guess a backup question or a further question to that, and it's a local manufacturer or actually a local distributor of the product?
Through your worship, to the councilor's question, it's Works Equipment is trackless manufacturer. They're out of Cortland, Ontario, down just outside of Tillsonburg. So we've had a long-standing relationship with them where we've asked for certain different things, and we've demoed those products with them so that we can try them out, and so we consider them pretty local. They're local to this area for sure.
Thank you. Councillor Martin?
Yeah, Director Locke, just a question out of curiosity. These are a little bit more complex than your regular ride-on mower, and a lot of staff within parks and public works are summer students. Does this piece of equipment require any special certification, or is it, could I learn to operate this piece of equipment?
Through your worship, to the councilor's question, any of our equipment that we use, depending upon what nature of the equipment it is, we provide training. So I do believe we do have some temps that use this. I'm not sure that we have students using it in that area. I'm not sure what parks do. I believe we do in public works provide that training. We'll bring in trackless. They have staff that will provide that training, and we'll also do peer training with staff that have been using the equipment for many, many years. And we make sure everybody's safe.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Thank you. We have nothing from IT tonight. So no special committee or advisory task force reports, no notice of motion, no new business. So that brings us to draft bylaws. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, Councillor Kay Leatherborough, seconded by Councillor Schadenberg, that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9684-24, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 8-24-05, City of Woodstock. 9685-24, a bylaw to provide for the financing of road reconstruction projects on Rathbourne Avenue, Cambridge Street, and Walter Street. 9686-24, a bylaw to provide for the financing of the Public Works Office addition and renovation project. 9687-24, a bylaw to provide for the financing of the downtown Woodstock Streetscape Master Plan, Dundas Street from Riddell Street to Wellington Street.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by Councillor Kay Leatherborough, myself, seconded by Councillor Schadenberg, that the following bylaws be given a third and final reading. 9684-24, 9685-24, 9686-24, 9687-24.
Thank you. Last chance. Any questions or concerns with those? All those in favor? That is carried. None opposed. So that brings us to the end. And tonight, I think we're going to start with Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Just a message from the art gallery. There are only 2 spaces left for the gallery's last Creative PA Day on May the 31st, geared to ages 5 to 12. The Creative PA Day program includes the art making activities and lessons. And if you have a budding artist who is interested in this program, you can find all the details on the gallery's website at woodstockartgallery.ca. And I'm wishing everyone a nice long weekend, and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lauder. Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, thanks. First and foremost, we haven't asked any questions of Danielle Cicerelli, so I do want to compliment her. She's representing Brian Connors here today from the Parks and Recreation Department. And she was also at the Recreation Advisory Committee meeting the other night and did a great report on camps for the summer camp and summertime and all kinds of other activities going on at the Cowan Sportsplex and throughout the city of Woodstock. So thanks for Danielle for doing that and stepping in for Brian tonight, and we kept her busy, but also on Monday when we did keep her busy at the Recreation Advisory Committee. Reminder, May 25th is a busy day for charitable runs. It's the Dairy Capital Run at Discovery Farm, which is where the Outdoor Canada Farm Show is. The Walk for Alzheimer's is based at Cass, the College Avenue Secondary School. And the Walk for Dog Guides is based in Innerkip, but the Lions Club of Woodstock and many other Lions clubs around Oxford County and elsewhere will be participating in that event. Guide Dogs is one of the programs. We even have a member in the Woodstock Club who relies very heavily on her guide dog to be able to participate on that. So all three events are May 25th. This weekend, of course, is Victoria Day. I'm not going to talk about the parade in the Midway, but I guess I just did. May 17th to 19th is the Wranglers 13 and under baseball tournament. It's in Southside Park and also at the community complex. The games start on Friday night at the complex back diamond and also both diamonds in Southside Park at 6 and at 8 p.m. And then Saturday at 9 a.m. and then Sunday only in Southside Park beating at 9 a.m. So if you're going down to Southside Park just to check out the Midway, by all means, it's the Woodstock Wranglers have their 13 and under tournament going on. And one more thing I want to mention, and it's kind of down in the future, but it's kind of important timing for it. On Saturday, November 30th, is the Spirit of Christmas Home Tour as sponsored by the Woodstock Museum on the Museum Advisory Committee. And if you want to know why I'm asking for November 30th, we are looking for houses that are interested in participating, maybe preferably some Victorian homes, but houses in the city of Woodstock that would be interested in participating. You can get a hold of myself or, of course, Karen Houston, the curator of the museum, if you're willing to participate in the event that day. It's going to be from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Leatherborough.
So next week is late night shopping. The fourth Thursday of each month, businesses downtown stay open late, and the BIA has a variety of things going on, events as the weather is only getting warmer. So next Thursday, the WAC, WAAC, which is Woodstock Accessibility Advisory Committee, will be partnering with the BIA at that late night shopping. So we'll have a booth and we'll be out there visible if anybody wants to come by and say hello, as well as National Accessibility Week, as we had the proclamation earlier today. That is coming up from Monday, May 27th through to Sunday, June 1st. And on Monday, May 27th, Mr. Mayor Accioni is going to be doing a flag raising ceremony in Museum Square at 10 a.m. for National Accessibility Week. And then later that day on Monday, May 27th, there will be a unveiling of a new bench in dedication for Donna Burley, Southside Park, 4 p.m. And I believe she was a long-standing Accessibility Advisory Committee member. So we were chatting earlier before the meeting started that accessibility can impact many in very many different ways, whether it is temporary or permanent. So just look out for your loved ones, neighbors, and read up more on about National Accessibility Week.
Thank you. I'm going to mess everybody up and go to Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. I am looking forward to the Victoria Day Parade on Monday at 10 a.m. I've got a fun ride planned. But it's always so amazing to see the community come together and watch the parade and line the route. And the weather is looking spectacular in the forecast. So yeah, right, exactly. The second thing that I wanted to mention was Take a Hike Oxford. June 1st is coming up very quickly. Trails throughout Oxford County will be hosting events that day from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. So here in Woodstock, it is the Herbert Herbert Milnes Trail up at Petulo. There are a variety of interactive activities at each of the 4 trails. So Oxford Thames River Beachville Trail, Hickson North Trail, and the John Lawson Ingersoll Trail will also be hosting events. I believe at the Petulo Ridge Trail, Woodstock Public Library will be holding a story time. So lots of community groups coming together to pull this off. Check out their website, Take a Hike. You get to say Take a Hike. Take a Hike Oxford on June 1st.
Thank you. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
May 31st, we will have the Pride flag raisings taking place, but also noting that these will be taking place in every municipality in Oxford County. And you did hear me right when I said that every municipality. So that's very exciting. They are taking place at different times through the day. So you can go to Oxford Pride. They have it all listed there for you. I'm really excited. Tuesday, myself and the team from Big Brothers Big Sisters are going to be participating in United Way's Building an Inclusive Oxford County. This is a DEI learning session. Dr. Fazana Chauhan is speaking about belonging culture expert, and she's also a human excellence strategist. So we will be learning more about the DEI work that we can do and making Oxford County a more inclusive community. So really excited to be a part of that. We did talk about DASO's 50th anniversary, so make sure you put that in your calendar for June 5th. They have interactive tours. You may hear someone's voice you recognize on some of those videos, just in case you're wondering. As well, they have food trucks, all kinds of really fun things going on. So please put that in your calendar to help DASO celebrate 50 years. And of course, we heard that Sloan is coming to Woodstock for Kawapalooza, but I'm not sure how many people remember Sloan's first visit to Woodstock. I still have my ticket stub from that concert. It was in 1998. They played the community complex with Treble Charger, as well as a local band, Scatterbrain, who were actually some friends of mine. Treble Charger was one of my absolute favorite bands at that time. So I absolutely freaked out when I found out that Sloan and Treble Charger were coming. So it's great to see them coming back. I'm really disappointed because I won't be here that weekend as I'm away for a wedding. So really sad to miss Sloan for the second time, but kudos to Kristen and the rest of the, Kristen and Robin and the rest of the group for arranging to have them come here and play.
Great. And last but not least, Councillor Tate.
Yes, and because nobody has asked any questions, and I did warn her beforehand, just for everybody's benefit and for council's benefit, an update on the pickleball courts.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. We currently have a live tender that is closing May 31st, which entails redeveloping Brompton Park to be more of a hybrid destination for pickleball and tennis.
And the reason I asked is because somebody commented today that they came to council and we didn't do anything, and I know that we did. So I said, I will ask the question. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I was going to find a question in my head to ask you as well. So that's done. So welcome. Most everything has been checked off the list here that I wanted to talk about. Of course, we talked about the flag raisings. We did not talk about the kickoff to construction for the North Woodstock School this afternoon. So I had many of us had the pleasure to attend that this afternoon. So that's exciting. And I really want to say thank you to the trustees and Thames Valley District School Board for listening to us and our concerns about having possibly a smaller school than what we needed already and going forward. So not a lot of people know that there's already been an addition to the school even before it was built, and that's because of the cooperation. And thank the province for their assistance with allowing all this to happen as well. DASO was well mentioned, but I think it's worthwhile mentioning again. I'm really excited to participate in that event for their 50th anniversary. It's, I've never kept it a secret. That hits home for me, and a big supporter of everything they do, and thank Diane Harris and all of her staff for their contributions to our community. Victoria Day has been mentioned as well, but again, parade starts at 10 a.m., leaving Fairgrounds, and this one goes through to Southside Park to the Midway, of course. So I hope you bring the family out, not only watch the parade, but then go out to Southside Park and enjoy the Midway. And happy long weekend, everybody. Please be safe. Don't drink and drive. Go see family. Go see somebody that you haven't seen in a long time and give them a hug and let them know you care. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Schattenberg, second by Councillor Wismer Van Meer. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.